Welcome to the Westminster Effects Doxology podcast. We explore popular practices, songs, and ideas in the modern church world in the light of Sola Scriptura and Toto Scriptura. I'm Cody Fields, the president of Westminster Effects. Go buy stuff for your guitar at westminstereffects.com and join the discussion in Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast Lounge. And you know the drill. If you've ever listened to a podcast in your entire life, make sure you subscribe on all the various channels, share, and give us 5 stars, even if this show has ruined your life. I am joined for the third Fight, Laugh, Feast episode by Harbor Freight Doug Wilson himself. You know him from his interdenominational meetings on various and sundry social media platforms. Mr. Keith Foskey. Keith, welcome to the Doxology podcast.
Hey, brother. Thank you for letting me be on.
Absolutely. So we just met yesterday via Greg Moore of the Dead Men Walking podcast, and it's been hilarious, I gotta say. I have not stopped laughing except to record this intro.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Fast friends. I enjoy fast friends.
Yes, exactly. They're preferable to slow friends.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of my friends.
Unless you're getting chased by a bear. Then a slow friend is preferable, because then you can just outrun the slow friend.
Well, maybe I was thinking a lot of my friends are slow, but then not.
You're just delusional at this point.
Yes,
it's okay.
Yes, yeah.
You drove. How far was the drive for you through the night yesterday?
I started at 4 p.m. from Jacksonville, Florida, 4:30 p.m. and I rolled in at 8 a.m.
Wow.
So it was, I can't do math, but it was more than 12 hours. It was supposed to be a 12-hour drive, but I stopped twice to nap.
Right. Trying to make sure you don't die on the way.
Yeah, I'm driving. My dad let me borrow his Dodge diesel pickup. It is a dually.
Oh, let's go.
It's 8,000. He has an additional fuel tank in the back. It makes it like 8,000 pounds. It's fully loaded.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, if I hit anything, it's going with me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know you, other than the fact that you're Harbor Freight Doug Wilson, that you do your interdenominational meetings, what are you kind of known for on this thing that we call the internet?
Mostly humor videos.
Yeah.
I am a pastor.
But you're a pastor. Is that allowed?
I've made it allowed. I've made it work.
It's like Palpatine in Star Wars. I'll make it legal.
That's right. I am the Senate.
Yeah.
No, I'm thankful that God has given me elders that support what I do.
Yeah.
And they actually, even from the beginning, even when it was just a podcast, because it started out as just a podcast, they always saw it as an extension of ministry, and they never gave me a hard time of saying, oh, we don't want you to waste time. They actually let me set up a studio in the church. They let me buy equipment and made it quality, a quality podcast. But my wife had the idea. She said, hey, TikTok is out there and people are watching it, and there's so much podcast content now. Everybody has a podcast, right? It's like 20 years ago everybody had a blog. Yep. Now everybody has a podcast.
And it was a blog on Zanga.
That's right.
MySpace.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you know who Mike Birbiglia is. He's a comedian, but he talks about that. He said everybody has a blog. It's like, I went to JCPenney today. It's like, that's not a blog, but people write it.
It's like that Parks and Rec episode about what was it? Tom's Twitter feed where it was just stuck in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the way, our podcast sort of felt like white noise. It just didn't really have an audience. We had some folks who listened and some folks who were really encouraging. But my wife said, well, you're pretty funny and she's hilarious. And she's not unwilling.
So high praise coming from someone who's funny.
Yeah, my wife's hilarious, and she writes a lot of our stuff. If people think the denomination videos are funny, a lot of that comes from her. Right. So she sat down and she said, well, let's do a video where all the denominations talk to each other. Yeah. And that was the start.
It's just gone from there. Yeah. At this point.
Absolutely.
So what spurred you on to do those kinds of things anyway? Why would you be so uncharitable as to make the Lutheran perpetually drinking beer? Why would you be so uncharitable?
Everything is a hyper caricature.
Yep.
Of and that's even superior theology. You saw me yesterday. I was wearing my hashtag superior theology shirt.
Yep.
That is every Presbyterian pastor I know. Is very. Is very, and when I say this, I don't mean this in a bad way. They're very proud of the fact that they have
that they're Presbyterian.
They have the most rigorous maybe not the most rigorous, but one of the most rigorous ordination standards.
Yeah.
So they have to go through all these things, all the school. That you know, some Baptist pastors never even been to school or seminary or anything like that.
Right.
And that not all, but I'm saying in general, within Presbyterianism,
there's pros and cons, trade-offs for all of that.
That's right. So there's this high bar. So it was during the Thanksgiving episode that I did. The denominations were saying what they were thankful for, and so like Big Eva was thankful for lights and smoke machines, right? and everybody was just sort of doing this sort of stereotypical thing.
Yeah.
Well, the Presbyterian held up the Westminster standards. He said, I'm thankful, superior theology.
Yeah.
And that's where the term came from. So it's all about caricatures. And honestly, with the Lutheran, I'm most afraid of Lutherans. They are vicious. And so the closest...
One of my normal co-hosts is a confessional Lutheran, and he doesn't even refer to himself as a Lutheran. He calls himself an Augsburgian Christian.
There you go. Yes. Well, I love Lutherans. Luther is one of my favorite historical characters. Yep. Every October, I do a biography of Luther. I actually go to schools and do it. I go and talk about Luther. So I'm a huge respecter of Luther and Lutherans.
But also, thank God he never had a Twitter account.
That's right. That's right. He's the one who gave us license for cussing. No.
Well, let me find the bleep button so I don't have to turn it into an explicit episode, right?
So that is where the Lutheran comes from. It's just
Gotcha.
that they're going to be cantankerous. They're going to be, and the Presbyterian wants to be their friend, but they don't want to be the Presbyterian's friend, and that's always the joke.
Right. But then you have the United Methodist with a pink polo with a popped collar.
The United Methodist is always very special. He's very thankful for everyone and everything. And
I can't tell. Let me just see how many bridges I can burn. I can't tell if that's a gay voice or just South Georgia.
Well, there's a lot going on in South Georgia. No, I will say the only I don't want to say pushback, but the only time one of my elders, I have two elders I serve with, only time one of them was a little off-put was the first time I did the Methodist.
Yeah.
He came up and he says, "Are you trying to sound gay?" And I was like,
"Have you met a United Methodist?"
Well, I said, "I'm not trying to sound gay."
Yeah.
I said, "I'm trying to sound effeminate."
Yeah.
And so
just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So why do funny things in Christendom? Why not just do discipleship things? Why not just have another, quote unquote, just another podcast about Calvinism, right?
I invest the majority of my life in the church.
Yeah.
And we have our academy, we have our we have all the things that we do that are real discipleship things.
Yeah.
And comedy for me is an outlet for creativity.
Yep.
Because I enjoy being creative. And I love to make people laugh, and I love to laugh. You know this because you spent the last 24 hours hanging out together.
Yeah.
And I just love to make people laugh. Yesterday at lunch, we're riffing on the drinks having lids and everything, and all this dumb stuff.
Just stupid things.
One of the things that I'm so thankful that Ken Ham does not have paper straws, because paper straws are a sign of the coming apocalypse and make me want to be a dispensationalist, because I believe in the Antichrist because of paper straws and Starbucks and paper straws and all this garbage.
And then you would have to be one of the representatives of premillennialism to joust on top of the ark.
They won't let me. I just asked. I said, "Can I get on top of the ark just with a sword, just for a picture?" And the guy's like, "Probably not." I was like, "But there's a probably. There's a."
Yeah. You're saying there's a chance.
That's right. I became
talking about a place called Aspen.
I became Lloyd Christmas. So you're saying there's a chance? What was all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah. So, all right. So you got an outlet for creativity. What else? What else we have?
I just love to like I said, I love to make people laugh. I would tell you, I was on with Michelle Leslie recently, and I said this, and I think it was kind of weird, but it tells something about me. Mm-hmm. Because she was asking me sort of a similar question: why comedy?
Yeah.
I actually remember where I was standing when Robin Williams died.
Yeah.
Like my dad, like he remembers where he was when JFK died.
Right.
Like he was working on a car when JFK was shot.
Yeah.
I was standing in Walmart when I opened up my phone and it said Robin Williams had killed himself.
Wow.
And I remember where I was in Ocala, Florida, in a Walmart, and I just remember thinking, like this was a moment. Like, not that Robin Williams was like a huge hero of mine, but that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I grew up with comedians sort of helping shape my personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
this is a dark story, but I remember that as well. So that was the week that I got married.
Oh, wow.
And so that entire week was just insane. One, there was a torrential downpour in Greenville that evening, and so to get to the car, we had to walk through ankle-deep water. It actually washed away someone and killed him in Greenville. Like, it was, the water was coming so hard. And so I turned on the TV later that week, and you have Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri had happened, and then Robin Williams died, like, all in the same week. It's like, we got married, and did we cause this? Did we kill Robin Williams?
That's sad. That's sad but funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is what we're talking about. Is we can
Exactly.
kind of laugh about this at the same time, So proceed.
Well, no, but so comedians were a big part of my growing up.
Yeah.
And even Christian comedians, people don't remember guys like Mike Warnke,
Right.
Dennis Swanberg, guys who aren't necessarily Christian but had a clean routine, like gosh, what's the guy's name? Told all the stories. He was like country, did Grand Ole Opry.
I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember the
I
name.
can't think of his name right off. But there are these people who just that's the voice I wanted to have.
Right.
I wanted to have a voice that made people laugh. I was a professional magician at the age of 16, so like I've always been a performer.
Yeah.
And when God called me into ministry, I've said this many times, I was worried because I don't want to be a performer in the pulpit. I don't want to be a clown. So I take preaching very seriously.
You don't want to be Big Eva.
No, I don't. And so I want this other outlet to allow that other side of me to have a way to get out where I'm not trying to be a comedian in the pulpit, but I can be a serious expositor in the pulpit.
Right.
And yet, like Hans Feeney is a hero of mine. He's Lutheran satire. He does stand up, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Because he's a legit Lutheran pastor.
Yep.
And yet he still does stand up, and I think that's great.
Right. Kind of one of the mottos that flies around here every now and then with Westminster Effects is Jesus is Lord of guitar too.
That's right.
Of music. He's also Lord of laughter. He's
Lord of comedy. That's right.
What things are funny. So what makes things funny?
A lot of times it's obvious things.
Yeah.
You would think there's like some secret to it. It's not. The best, the most positive feedback I've had has been on two videos. One is when I did the Denominations Go Shooting.
Yeah.
And the reason why that was so popular was it was a crossover, because people love guns, people love comedy. It was a crossover, and people love church, or people who go to church love church. So there's like these three things they sort of trifected into this thing. But there's nothing I said in that video that was incredibly funny, except at the very end when I was I come up with a slingshot and I said that's the Amish or the Mennonite. I'm the Mennonite because everybody else is shooting guns.
Yeah.
But everybody saw a gun they liked. Everybody saw something, and it connected. Like Big Eva had a 50 caliber. It was just ridiculous.
Because
thing.
of course he did.
Yeah, got to have big and loud.
What did the Presbyterian have?
1911.
Because of
the perfect firearm.
Because of course he did.
Superior. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that, and then the other video was the airlines. And I remember this because I got invited onto Presbycast for that. And,
okay.
And Presbycast,
I think I missed that one. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
It's each denomination is an airline explaining what their plane is like.
Oh, no.
And the IFB is handing out, instead of airsick bags and emergency, they're handing out Jack Chick tracks. And that line, the Jack Chick track line, which is so obvious to me, is like IFB, Jack Chick track. Yeah. This is a thing. Yeah. I got so many people. I can't believe you mentioned Jack Chick. I grew up with Jack Chick. So like it resonated. Like I said, sometimes it's the obvious things that resonate with people that's the most funny.
Yeah. Well, what role does irony then play? Because that may not be quite so obvious or something like that. Right?
Well, that is like I'm not as subtle as some guys.
Right.
I'm a little more obvious with some of the humor, but there is some irony.
It's not quite the British deadpan.
No,
right?
it's in your face. My humor's, like I said, it's like this would make a 5-year-old laugh.
Right.
And I love the fact that here at the conference I had a little boy come up, and his dad was with him, and he said, "My son wants to shake your hand because he loves your videos." And that makes
fantastic.
me happy.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that are, like I did a video on dogs and cats because I'm doing Open Borders October. Open Borders October is my joke against No Quarter November. And by the way, I just got permission from Doug Wilson to continue doing this. I took a picture with him, and I said, "Are you okay with all this?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's fine." So I have complete permission.
Right.
But Open Borders October, I did What's Better, Cats or Dogs?
Right, so No Quarter November, for those who are uninitiated, is when Wilson just goes no holds barred. I think he says he has like the second paragraph qualifier or something like that in most of his blogs, where he's like, all right, so here's what I'm not saying for all of you who want to take me out of context,
That's
basically. Right. And so for all of November, he just ignores that rule and says whatever he wants, unfiltered. Right?
That's right.
So you're doing the opposite.
Open Borders October, his is universally controversial, mine's universally adored.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about dogs and cats. I'm talking about dad jokes.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one where my wife and I are going to play, this is coming up, we're going to play a game of Guess Who, but instead of the characters from Guess Who, it's going to be pastors. So it's going to be like, okay, this guy doesn't believe in the Trinity. You know, like
TD Jakes. There you go.
Yeah. So that's the type of humor, right?
Yeah.
And but I'm sorry, kind of lost where I was going with that. But we were talking about satire and
well, even last night we were talking about doing an Open Borders October for Yamaha.
Yes, because Yamaha,
it is universally adored, whether you play guitar or whether you need a generator or whether you need an outboard motor or a motorcycle.
A soundboard.
Yeah.
We have a Yamaha soundboard at church.
Yeah.
The same company that built the jet ski.
Right.
To build the soundboard.
Like, everyone has to love Yamaha.
That's right.
They make literally everything well.
Yeah.
And it's just, let's chuckle at it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, the satire, the irony, it's all in there. But getting back, now I remember what I was going to say with the cat and dog video.
Yeah.
The irony part, the part that I don't think anybody saw coming, was I explained what cats are like, what dogs are like, why I love cats, why I love dogs, whatever. And at the end, at the end of the day, we know that cats are Presbyterian and dogs are Baptist. And that was the joke, right? That was the thing people didn't see coming.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
You do have certain dog breeds that would lend themselves more toward Big Eva.
Oh yes, yes. Did you ever see the picture of the two dogs with this turtleneck sweaters? They're like gray.
No.
They're greyhounds. They're the most pristine. They're like show dogs, but they have a turtleneck sweater, and it says a couple of Presbyterian dogs. It's the funniest picture.
We currently have, my wife and I currently have a 120-pound Newfoundland, and until a couple months ago, we had a 16-year-old Pomeranian.
Wow.
You can imagine who ran the show.
Oh, no doubt.
The Pomeranian was absolutely Big Eva. And then I don't know what the Newfoundland would be. He's slobbery and stupid is what he is.
Oh, slobbery and stupid. He might be a Nazarene. I'm just kidding. No, that's mean. I love all you Nazarenes. Don't that was. I never get to say anything about the Nazarenes.
Right.
They're
because no one cares.
Well, people have asked me several times, like, why don't you include like the AME?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because you don't want to Trudeau yourself.
Yeah, there are certain things that I can't do. So, yeah, that's the tough part. Is like, yeah, there are limitations. Yeah. I got my 5 characters.
Yeah.
It's Big Eva, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Baptist, and Methodist.
Well, it's like the Power Rangers. You go past 5 and you're just jumping the shark.
That's right. And it's like the four humors, right? The 4 personality types.
Yeah.
Every TV show had them. So.
You got your 5 denominations. Find yourself in one of them and deal with it.
That's right.
And it's like the Enneagram. You can find yourself in any of them at some particular time, right?
Yeah, especially if you worship the devil.
Right. That's why personality. We just did an episode on personality tests a couple weeks ago, and all of these are pretty silly.
Have you ever done the Gary Smalley test?
No.
I still use this to this day, not because I trust in it or because it's great, but because it's fun.
Yeah.
And Gary Smalley came out. He was a Christian psychologist, and he did this four personality test with 4 animals.
Oh boy.
You were either a lion, a golden retriever, a otter, or a beaver. So it's like the 4 most it was like he had a hat with animals in it, and he just started pulling animal names out. Yep, you're an otter, and it's like the most ridiculous thing. But to this day, my wife, I'll do something, and my wife will say, "Yeah, that's because you're a lion." Because we took this stupid test 20 years ago, and she's confident that that's what I am, and like, well, it's because you're a lion.
What if you're a lion winged golden retriever?
Well, that's it. Everybody has got a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Well, I guess let's wrap this up. So you need to mingle. You have adoring fans that have been getting selfies with you.
People have been very sweet. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Easiest place is calvinistpodcast.com. That takes you straight to our YouTube page. If anybody wants to contact me, it's calvinistpodcast@gmail.com. So just sort of keep it simple. And then it's @YourCalvinist on Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for listening to the Westminster Effects Doxology podcast. Go love God, love your neighbor, and make some music. We'll see you next time.